Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As a wee bonus, a wee sort of apology, slight sort of compensation for the fact that the number of times Ericosi has been on here and we've been late. We decided that seeing as me and Andrew are here, we'll give you the bonus of starting not just on time, but in fact early. And I know that's kind of an incredible situation, but there's no harm in that whatsoever. We were having a wee discussion, dare I call it backstage? Would that be the right term, Andrew?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. So I thought, well, yes, let's just kick off and let's hi everybody. Thank you to all of you who've joined us. Hopefully, we'll get on to one or two of the chats here. Yes, I suppose we should start off by addressing the one issue of tonight. No, not that one. Let's see if I can get this right. Oh no, I know how I can do it. There we go.
One day I'm gonna get a fitted suit, Mr. Paul.
Don't worry about it. That looks absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's not just a charade that we put on. It's just how we are. I mean, the wonderful world of truthers. I said this to on one of the videos. I said we are such a diverse group of individuals. We come from completely different backgrounds, different ages, etc.
Yep.
Remind me again. You're from Albany, which is in Louisiana.
Louisiana, yes, sir.
Yeah. I am from Galashiels in Scotland.
Right.
Now we're not quite the other side of the world, but we are. As far as I know, we're something like between 4,500-5,000 miles apart.
I imagine it's quite a ways.
Yeah.
I haven't looked it up, but.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, first up. Well, first of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. It was a pretty good one.
Good.
Right.
I was very busy. I had a couple of gigs. I had one on New Year's Eve and then one on New Year's Day, and I'm just about recovered from that because that was hard work.
What all instruments do you play, Mr. Paul? I was going to ask you that last.
Yeah, well, see, on Christmas Day I was playing lounge piano, like background piano. It's like sort of in a restaurant, and then New Year's Eve I was playing my accordion at a ceilidh, and I was doing the calling as well, which means I have to explain to everybody, or sorry, not always explain, but in most cases explain to everybody how to do the dance, refresh their memory,
right?
How to do the Scottish ceilidh dancing, and then, on the New Year's Day it was back to doing some lounge piano. So a mixture of I would say Bach, Beethoven, Eminem, ABBA, a mixture of everything. Just your typical sort of lounge piano. Nothing too complicated. I must admit, I do like the a bit of Mozart, bit of Chopin, bit of Beethoven, and then a bit of ABBA, just
classical type stuff.
Yeah, well, Christmas Day it was a case of you can do what you like with the carols. You can jazz them up a bit. So I did a bit of that. But anyway, I wanted to first of all congratulate you on the fact that I noticed that a video that you did yesterday. I don't think I've ever seen this before. You've got something like 250 subscribers, and in one day you got 250 views.
Right.
Is
that the video about the bullets?
Yeah, that is pretty good going. In fact, that is very good going. The analytics there would be absolutely fantastic. That you're getting that the people coming in to view.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that, and maybe I'm just speculating here, but hopefully what's happened is that because you've just started off, you're getting people who are genuinely interested in finding out more about, making a word, but also your channel, more about you. I think you're just, that don't take this the wrong way, but there's no frills and sort of fancy studio and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
It comes from here, and that is what. Sorry, it comes from here, and that's what people appreciate. It's you're not being derogatory or anything like that. You're just explaining it as it is. So anyway, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your. Well, first of all, what struck me was that you were saying that you own a lot of guns because you do. Is it the competition shooting?
Well, when I was younger,
Yeah.
The place that I was from in Mississippi didn't have a lot of things to do. And my friend,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we hunted all the time as kids, but my friend introduced me to something that's called the 4-H, and they do agriculture and all kind of other things. It's all kind of activities for kids.
Right.
And they also have, shooting competitions, and it's a wide range of weapons ranging from air rifles to 22 rifles, 12 gauge shotguns for skeet shooting, and bow and arrow. So
Right.
across many years, I shot in competitions for the 4-H, and
Right.
I've won first place in a lot of them, second place, third place. And then when I was in high school, I moved around a lot, so I went to a bunch of different high schools. And at one of the high schools, I decided, because I didn't know anybody there, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try out the ROTC because I kind of like the military. So I tried it out. Come to find out, they have a rifle team,
Mm-hmm.
and we wind up going to competitions and winning competitions that
Mm-hmm.
school hadn't won in like 30 years. So I've been involved with guns literally my entire life since my first BB gun, and I still own quite a few of them now.
Yeah, I would point out that I come from kind of the background of here in the UK. If you want to have a gun, you have to own it for a particular reason. You have to be. There are very tight licenses, laws about it. But yes, I do know quite a few pupils that do the competition shooting. Am I right in saying as well that in some of this competition shooting, it's a completely different type of rifle to your normal rifle?
Yeah, a lot of times it is. It's different sights as well.
Right.
But a lot of times your ammunition is the same, depending on what kind of competition you're doing. I mean, we in the 4-H, when we did 22 rifle, we'd do 50 yards and 100 yards, and it was essentially, the same ammo as you would have, like you would go buy at Walmart.
Right. Okay. It's just that it's again here in the borders we've got people that go out of a weekend and they do the pheasant shooting where they have beaters that go around and they sort of try, I presume, to sort of encourage the birds to take flight.
Right.
And then the people, they try and shoot them, and sometimes they shoot far too close and everybody gets covered in feathers and all that kind of stuff. It's
pheasant hunting is real similar to dove hunting, and that's where the skeet shooting competition used to come into play, because that's basically what it is. They'll throw clay targets in the air from these machines, and you'd shoot them out of the air and stuff. So, but yeah, it's fun,
Yeah, I must admit, I err on the side of I like to see a few pheasants on the road going to my pupils that are well known for shooting because they're the ones that escaped. So I'm kind of good
Yeah,
on for
I
doing
got
that. And as I say, I'm not a great advocate for sort of like the gun culture, but I do get the fact that for some people it is as you say, target shooting, all
right.
that kind of stuff. But anyway, you in your video. Well, sorry, could you please explain what you're sort of basically saying in your video about the fact that
All
well,
right.
I'm going to say it's absurd, this idea that Stephen shot Teresa
Right.
11 times because they found 11 shell casings. They want Brendan to say she was shot 11 times, and
Right.
that's it. And we hear Judge Hamilton saying, well, how many shell casings were found? 11. Oh, well, she must have been shot 11 times. It's a slam dunk, as they say.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it is it really aggravates me when discussing this with people because they use Brendan Dassey's testimony to, gather all this evidence, right? Well, here's these. Brendan says she was shot. Here's these shell casings. Here's this what looks like a bullet hole in a skull fragment. And Brendan said that he shot her, 10, 11 times because they found 11 shell casings, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole point of the video was if he shot her 10 or 11 times
Mm-hmm.
and knowing a 22 rifle like I do because I own one, I've shot literally. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say anywhere from 8 to 10,000 rounds in my life of 22.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm sitting there thinking, and it just dawned on me. I said, "Well, wait a second. All of 22, regardless of what most people know or believe, it doesn't all the time. Actually, it'd be very rare that you would have an entry and an exit wound on a body with a 22 caliber rifle because it's literally the smallest caliber of bullet made for a rifle. I mean, there might be one other. I was researching that the other day, but I haven't found any. So we're talking about the smallest caliber available for a rifle.
Okay, so basically, if you were to fire it into a target, you're firing into what? What is the target made of? Is that made of wood?
Well, competition and different things. A lot of times they had like sandbags. Then you had the target on the front of it, and you'd have like a little pile of dirt behind it to stop just in case. But typically they wouldn't even come out of the sandbags. So every situation is different. But like if you're talking about around the yard, we put targets on everything. Trees, barns, or whatever. But
Right.
A good, I guess a good ideal or a good analogy to give you would be if you shot a 2x4,
Right. Yep.
which is actually they're not literally 2 inches by 4 inches any longer. They're 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches.
Oh, yeah.
So if you shot a 2x4 and you had two of them side by side, it's only going to go through the first one and into the second one. It's not going to come out of the second 2x4.
No.
And even when we're talking about a softwood like pine, you would think, in just about any other caliber would shoot through both of them, and this one
Right.
won't. So that gives you an idea of how weak this caliber is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was saying was, if she was shot 10 or 11 times, some of those bullets, if not the large majority, let's say 80%, would still be in her body.
Mm-hmm.
And then going by the state's theory, if they brought her over there to the fire and put her on the fire, and once that body completely went away and there was nothing else but bone left laying there, the bullets would be in that burn pit. And when they sifted through all of the dirt, they would have found the bullets. And there's no report of that. And it's not really, a lot of people online in different groups, they want to, ridicule or whatever, but it's not necessarily about, well, was she shot or wasn't she? To me, it's if the state is going to say something, and the state is going to convict you off of this, theory or whatever, then it needs to be accurate. And this is, to me, is easily proven inaccurate.
Yeah, I think that's. I, I, I think we're all the same on this. We've all watched Making a Murderer. We haven't just watched Making a Murderer, as Andrew here is a great example. Making a Murderer was something that inspired you to think, I want to delve deeper into this. So it's not just a case of I've watched a documentary and I'm basing all of my assumptions on that.
Exactly.
And this is I can assure you, I know of certain people within the truther community who, when a guilter comes onto their channel and says, you have just watched a one-sided, biased documentary, honestly, some of the most mild-mannered truthers you could ever come across are ranting about this. This is like, it's so ridiculous that they think that's all we've done is just jumped on some sort of bandwagon, some sort of cult following that, somehow, we're all going to, arrive at the promised land because we're all jumping on this truther bandwagon. That is not what it's about. And as I say, this accusation that all we've done is watched a documentary and we've based our theories and assumptions on this. It's just so far fetched. And as I say, what I particularly like is the fact that you've recently watched. Oh well, I wouldn't say recently watched it. No, I realise you watched it a while back, but it got to you to the stage where, I'm going to actually go out and I'm going to investigate this further and find out what the hell is going on in this case. And what you found is that in all your investigations, there's nothing that is said to you, oh, Steve might be guilty.
No,
I can't imagine ever a guilty saying anything to you that's made you think, oh, I didn't realize that. He must be guilty.
Yeah, no, I haven't. A thought has never crossed my mind to where I all of a sudden had a thought that said, Stephen Avery is guilty. I've had things that made me think about certain pieces of evidence or this or that,
Yep.
but I've never once thought, and I've never ever thought that Brendan Dassey's testimony had absolutely any truth to it whatsoever. I mean, if you think about it, if you go by their theory, and let's say they found blood spatter all in the garage, and there was blood on the mattress, and there was, all the things lined up with what Brendan said, we wouldn't be sitting here,
Yeah.
But no, I don't believe not one bit of Brendan Dassey's testimony, and nobody's ever said anything to me that's made me think Stephen Avery is guilty at all, because the evidence just don't make sense. A lot of this you can look at from common sense, and common sense tells me if you shoot a body, like the DNA expert I talked to,
Yeah.
if you shoot a body that many times, even once or twice in a garage, and you're going to tell me that CSI didn't find one speck of her blood in that garage, that right there is a red flag. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't care how good they cleaned it.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because when proper investigators, and I don't mean the crackerjack world experts that come from Manitowoc County, because I would suspect that they're maybe not quite the crackerjack world experts that everybody in the guilty community think that they are.
No,
but here's the thing: if you've got a crime scene where somebody has tried to clean up, that is as good a piece of evidence as finding all the blood spatter and the DNA.
Exactly.
Is the evidence that it's all being cleaned up. I mean, for Ken Kratz to say that they cleaned the trailer of all of Teresa's DNA, blood, sweat, skin, all that kind of stuff, hair. They cleaned it all with a combination of, I believe it was rug doctor and a very, very, and a norm, not even a very powerful. I think it was something like a Bissell vacuum cleaner,
Like
a vacuum cleaner and rug doctor, and that's all you need to get rid of all this incriminating evidence.
Yeah, and I find that hard to believe as well, because if blood was in that mattress, the DNA expert in my DNA expert video, that's one of the only answers that he didn't say, where there's different variables and this and this and that. He told me straight up. I said, if someone had their throat cut and stabbed and all this and that on a bed, would you be able to get all of the DNA out of that mattress? And he straight up said, there's no way.
Yeah.
Because you're not just talking about what you can see, you're talking about what it soaks into, just like with the carpet. You have padding and other things under the carpet that the blood would have soaked into. And when they go in there, they're going to rip all that up and collect evidence. They're not going to go in there and say, well, I don't see anything, so we're not going to test it. I guarantee you they tested all of it. The luminol and everything.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? They did not send certain things to Sherry Culhane.
Yeah, there was a
lot of stuff that they didn't send, and you have to ask the question why. And I believe the reason why is because they knew perfectly well that if they did, it would come back as negative. And why would you want to waste the time of your crime lab when you're trying to frame somebody? Why would you waste their time proving that it didn't happen?
Yep.
It's just a getting on to, so I've put here the absurdity of Brendan's confession. Basically, as I say, I'm sort of looking at this from the point of view that when I first, before I watched Making a Murder, I was out on a night out with my daughter and wife in Glasgow. She said this was, I'm going to say this was February of 2016. She's a student of journalism. She says to me, and she says, "Mum, Dad, you're going to have to watch this Making a Murder. This is absolutely amazing." She says, she says to me, "Have you heard of a place called Manitowoc?" I said, "No." I'm thinking, Lenny, I certainly know of Manitowoc now. She says, "Well, it's in Wisconsin." I said, the only thing I know about Wisconsin is that they've got a great football team. It's called the Green Bay Packers. It's, I've followed them and kind of supported them, wanted them to do well since the days of Brett Favre. I said, "No, I've never heard of Manitowoc." But I know that it's near Canada. I've got relatives stay just over the border in Ontario. And she says, "Well, this guy, he got charged with this attempted murder and rape of this woman in 1985," and I'm thinking, good God, 1985. What was I doing in 85? I had only just moved up to Scotland. I was a young man back then. and she says, "Well, he got charged with this rape and murder, attempted murder. And after 18 years, he got let out on DNA evidence." And do you know what? Immediately I thought, DNA evidence can be false.
Uh-huh.
It can prove somebody innocent, but it can also prove the other way. That for me wasn't enough. And she said he got out, but he was like taking out this lawsuit against the sheriff's department. Okay, and then he got arrested for murder. Oh well, okay. But then his nephew confessed. And I'm like, well, that's the end of the story, isn't it? That's it. That's it in a nutshell, isn't it? That's the Stephen Avery, Brendan Dassey story, isn't
Right.
it? I mean, that's as far as guilters are concerned.
Yep.
It could have been him that did the attack on Penny. You know, as far as Jean Couchet is concerned, he's not convinced.
Yeah, he's
It wasn't him.
Yeah.
So tell us about the absurdity of this confession. Question number one. If Brendan had heard a load of screaming from the caravan, what's he going to do?
I don't think he's going to go over to Steven's trailer if he hears him screaming.
I mean, you know, according to the guilters, he attacks women, but you know, if him and Jody are having a fight, he's just going to wander across, cycle across, and oh, hiya, Steve. Here's your mail. You know, I hear you guys having a fight, but don't worry, I'm fine. You know, can I come along and have a listen? You know, it's just the whole story. To begin with, is just nonsensical.
Absolutely, it's crazy. But
then
didn't he go back and forth on that too as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is that the only thing that's consistent ever about Brendan's confession is the fact that he came home from school. You know, and that's undeniable. He must have come home from school on the bus. You know, I mean, we've got this crazy situation where, according to some people, the bus driver saw Teresa taking photos. She could not have seen photographs being taken of the van at the end where Stephen is and Barb and everybody is. She would have seen she would have been there on previous occasions when there would have been somebody taking photographs at the entrance to the salvage yard. You know, as you come down Avery Road, it's a really long. You come off the sort of main road. It's a really long road into it. It's as they say, it's about a quarter of a mile. You know, and then you come to this opening where you go straight ahead for the salvage yard, or you turn right. And that takes you all the way down. It's quite a long trek down to the
where the trailer's at.
Yeah. So you've either, you know, the schoolgirl, the bus driver. There's undoubtedly times when she's gone along and she has seen Teresa taking a photograph of a car for sale, because Stephen used to do that. Some of the cars they were selling. I can't quite remember from Carla whether it was because they were from the salvage yard, but it was just a case of probably it was just a case of the more desirable vehicles, the sort of ones that people would sell. They put them out front because they're the ones that people are going to come along and think, oh,
get their attention.
Whereas the ones that, you know, like so this Barb's minivan with, I believe it's something like 200,000 miles on the clock.
Yeah,
it's a case of try and sell it on Auto Trader, see if you can sell it on Auto Trader. You know, put in offers around about $2,000. You know, take, you know, whatever once somebody comes along to buy it. So as far as him getting off the bus is concerned, yeah, we know he got off the bus. We know that he walked down to his house. He played video games. As you pointed out, that unfortunately, we can't trace. I don't believe that there is a possibility of actually checking on some sort of memory card, because it wasn't through the internet back then. Was that the outcome there? Was it?
Yeah, they wouldn't have had internet then. More likely, it would have been on a memory card.
Yeah,
and they should have been able to look into that. They still could have found out, I would imagine, that if he was playing, whether he saved whatever game he was playing or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
And I still haven't found out if they looked at that or not. I'm not sure.
Okay. But then That was what I believe around about sort of 3:30, 4:45 time that he would have arrived back. You know,
Yeah.
Teresa's already been there for an hour.
Right.
So
I can't really. It seems like after he got done playing video games, didn't he fix him something to eat and then watch TV for a little while?
Yeah.
I mean, he said that pretty consistent. That was about the most consistent thing in all of his versions of the stories was getting home from school, playing video games, and watching TV, and then the investigators, obviously that wasn't going to work for them. They needed a better story than that.
Well, yeah, I think it was just a case of that they kind of got what they wanted, but in a way they didn't get what they wanted, because what they really wanted was for Brendan to accept a plea deal, to Brendan to have the nice whereby he would realize the predicament of the situation he was in, and he would go along with this notion that it would be better for him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Although it wouldn't be good for Steve, it would be better for him and his family if he went along with this story. At the very least, for me, Bobby and Scott perjured themselves in trials, right? But they had the common sense to realize that the predicament they were in, and therefore they have to go along, and they have to be coaxed and sort of coached, if you like, by the prosecution. This is what you need to say. Brendan, unfortunately for them, fortunately for the truth coming out, but unfortunately for them, he didn't even have the mental capacity to realize that what he was supposed to do was to come up with a story that he confessed to, that he could then regurgitate time and time again, anytime he was asked to. That was it. He could then rattle off this whole story that would completely incriminate Steve. It incriminated himself, but hell, he was only going to get 20 years for it, or maybe less.
Yeah, they definitely wanted him to take a plea deal.
Yeah. And even Mike Holbach wants him.
Yeah.
In sentencing, says he should have taken the plea deal.
Yeah.
Mike Holbach, he's just murdered brutally, viciously, sadistically, heinously, has murdered your sister, and you're wanting him to take a plea deal?
Yeah.
It's beyond incredulity.
Well,
I see a certain person has quipped in with message about the tie, so we will just ignore him. But no, it's nice to see everybody joining us, and I would just like to just pause for a moment to thank everybody that's joined us, whether you are wherever you are and whoever you are. It's great to see so many people have joined us. So Brendan, according to the state, he goes in to the trailer because he's invited by his sweaty, sorry, let's get this right. Let's get the pronunciation right. His sweaty uncle, who then leads him into the bedroom and says, "There you go, Brendan, help yourself."
Yeah.
And what does he say? He says, I'm too young to have a child. He doesn't understand the situation at all, does he? He just doesn't. It never happened, folks. It never happened.
Yeah, it never happened for sure. I'm sure, as timid and shy and introverted as Brendan Dassey is, that he was, he walked in there and seen this woman laying helpless on the bed, and then he was all of a sudden able to get aroused enough to perform, being as shy and introverted as he is. I mean, the whole thing is just, it's absurd. The fact that Brendan's sitting in prison on that confession alone. Now, if they had tons of physical evidence to back it up, like I said earlier, that'd be one thing. But it's absurd that he is sitting in prison based on that coerced confession.
Here's the thing, though, right? According to that confession, they had discussed doing Teresa in.
Oh yeah,
they discussed how they were going to get rid of her, and yet Brendan is worried about getting her pregnant. He clearly thinks that there's going to be a parcel delivered in the post. Here you go, Brendan. Here's your baby.
Yeah,
it's just
the stork's going to drop one off.
Exactly. It did not happen. Anyway, yeah. We've already talked. No. I mean, during all this raping and raping and pillaging and murdering and stabbing and I don't know. I mean, what's worse than stabbing somebody and cutting their throat? I suppose sexting. Yeah. Maybe they did a bit of sexting as well. That's probably worse. Or as bad as But they then took a 15-minute break. Right,
that's what I was about to
do. What?
You get thirsty doing all of that, Paul.
It's we're not trying to make light of it.
No,
the fact that Teresa passed away. But come on,
we're not making light of Teresa at all. But the confession is plenty laughable.
Well, and we're not blaming Brendan. We're not blaming him because it wasn't Brendan's fault. They chose to try, not to try and pressurize this young kid who had basically the mental age of a 5 to 10-year-old.
That's crazy.
Look. I'm a music teacher, right?
Okay.
When I've got kids, age 7 or 8. That sort of age, I say to them regularly, I play the accordion. In order to play the accordion, one of the most important things about being able to play the accordion is you have to open the bellows.
Okay.
You have to be able to open the bellows a long, long way. Right. So excuse me one moment. I'm just going to do this for the benefit of the listeners. So what I do to them is I explain to them that what I do is I stretch my left arm to make it longer than my right arm. And there's the proof, right? Now, this is in reverse, okay? But there is quite clearly my left arm is longer than my right arm. And you know what? All the 7-year-olds, 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, they all go, oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, so you have, I say to them, I always carry my accordion in my left arm because it stretches that arm longer. You can tell them what you like, and they will just go along with that. And do you know what the best bit of it is? Is when they turn to mum. I've had this on countless occasions. They turn to mum and dad, and they say, because mum and dad are just about to pick up the accordion and carry it out, they say, oh no, I have to carry that. And like mum and dad, they stop and what? And they say, yeah, because I've got to carry it in my left hand. And it's like, what? And it's like, yeah, because it makes my left arm longer. And they turn to me. It's priceless, honestly. I can assure you. But this is the way that child's minds work. As soon as they hear something, they are quite happy to repeat what they've just heard.
Yeah, I've learned that the hard way with my 8-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. You be careful what you say to them, because when they get to 8, they get a bit more cunning.
Yeah, he's repeated some of my choice words at school, and so that wasn't good.
Particularly that comment about the maths teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'll send you a couple more of my favorites. But anyway, let's get back to where we should be. Okay.
All right.
So anyway, they take a 10 to 15 minute break. They watch TV. They have soda. Obviously, I mean, doesn't every murder involve a break for 10, 15 minutes to watch TV and have a soda? As you said, it's thirsty work.
Yep.
We've already said where is the blood? Where's all the blood? They cleaned that trailer. The police went in and tore the place apart and still didn't find anything. And it makes you think, well, at some point, some of them must have realized, what the hell's going on here? Why are we doing this? But do you know what it is? It's that thin blue line.
Well,
they're not gonna
yeah,
they're not gonna give in, are they? So
I'm still trying to figure out how Stephen Avery, who he must have had over his house after Teresa, to get somebody else's DNA on those handcuffs and be able to clean hers off, and then have somebody else's put back on there. And then no marks at all, no ligature marks at all on the bedpost. I mean, it just adds furthermore disgust when you think about it.
What always goes through my mind, to be honest, Andrew, is the fact that if Stephen was carrying Teresa over one shoulder and he's carrying the gun in the other, which according to one of the confessions, that's what's happening. And Teresa's what's she doing? Is she just accepting? Oh, I'm going for a nice little piggyback here. A nice little ride. Yeah. She would be thrashing
at all.
Everything. I mean, the whole of the hallways, the paneling, it would all be trashed.
Yep.
If
he carried her to the garage, why didn't he carry her to the fire instead of putting her on the creeper that had no DNA evidence on it?
The other interesting is, why would you throw Teresa into the back of the RAV4? It's this whole idea of what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the body? I actually, because I've watched another film called Snatch, I know that the way to get rid of a body is actually to take it to a pig farmer, because pigs will eat a dissected body, literally in like within minutes. They can get through in like you can destroy a body in like an hour with a whole load of pigs. They will just raw flesh, bone, everything. They'll just go through it.
Yeah, down here they would probably just feed it to the alligators.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's yeah. They are that's another good way of doing it. I'll tell you what isn't a good way of doing it is to try and get rid of the car is by crushing it, because it's not a good way of doing it, because you will have yes, dude, they do. They will eat through bone. Anyway, let's just ignore what I'm only kidding, dude. I'm only kidding.
You can crush the car all you want, but where was you gonna put it? The DNA evidence is still in there. They can get the jaws of life and open that car back up, even if they had to do it piece by piece.
Absolutely, they did. They opened up all of the crushed cars.
Did they?
Yeah, they opened them up.
So, as
you say, it's not going to hide anything, and it's going to take a hell of a job to actually to decommission a car to the extent where it's available for crushing, you've got to remove all of the fluids,
the engine, everything.
Yeah, this, what are you going to do? Leave all the seats in there, the carpeting and everything?
I mean, Stephen Avery isn't the smartest person in the world, but I can't believe that he wasn't, smart enough to know that he needed to get that car off of his lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for him to leave bones in his burn pit and go try to dispose of some of them. You would try to dispose of all of them. It makes more sense that those bones were brought to the burn pit. It makes more sense that that car was brought to the salvage yard with Teresa's body. At some point, her body was laying in the back of that car. It wouldn't have made any sense for Stephen Avery to put her bloody head in the back of that vehicle just to turn around and take it right back out to burn it.
So, sorry, we've got a bullet in the garage, which at least that's one piece of evidence that Brendan was able to consistently tell us that she was shot in the head, because obviously, it was Uyghur that said, who shot her in the head, and Brendan said he did. So we know for a fact that Stephen Avery shot Teresa in the head, right? So we've got this bullet that appears. Was it 4 months later?
It was a while after. And guess who found it? Or guess who was there when it was found?
Now, the thing I do know is that when it comes to investigations, the Calumet County Sheriff's Department are completely inept at finding anything unless they've got support of Manitowoc.
Yep.
Because if they're left to their own devices, they couldn't organize a piss up in a brewery, right? But as soon as Manitowoc appear on the scene, everything falls into place.
Yeah. Manitowoc's really got their stuff together.
Do you know what? They are fantastic. They are the world's best sheriff department.
Yeah. Arguably one of the best for sure.
Well, without doubt, the most famous.
Yeah, they might be the most famous or infamous.
So we've got this bullet that must have, in order to not gather any bone, must have just like grazed maybe an arm or the side of the body, right? So this bullet, right? See, this is what I don't get, because if he's shooting at the body, what's he doing? Is he stood at one side? Why would you stand to the side of a body to shoot them when you know that the bullets?
Yeah,
you're going to be stood over.
Yeah,
but even if Stephen is daft enough to be stood at the side, knowing full well that these bullets are going to, well, maybe not knowing that one of them's going to, but one of them, according to Gilt, has passed through her body. The item ethyl passed through her body or grazed her skin enough to pick up some form of DNA, which wasn't skin cells. So it must have punctured the skin and come out the other side somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. According to them. Yeah.
Yeah. So this thing, it hits concrete. Would this bullet have, surely it would have been damaged? It's soft lead.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking about as you was just talking about that is if the body's laying on the floor and then let's say you actually do get that rare event to where the bullet does go all the way through the body, and if it hits that concrete, the concrete is directly on the other side of the exit wound.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot more destruction to that bullet, and it'd look more slanted on the top of the bullet, and as opposed to the round mushroom look.
Yes.
I mean, if I had a microscope, I could run the experiment myself. I could shoot a 22 bullet through wood and show the viewers how a bullet looks when it's shot through wood, mushroom look, and then I could shoot concrete, and it's a totally different destruction when bullet hits concrete. When it hits something hard, like even say like a cast iron skillet or something,
right.
it's different damage to the bullet, but you can't talk that with guilters. They don't they don't have enough common sense to even comprehend that. Most of them.
Well, I've been getting a bit of abuse off. Believe it or not, people on our side are saying, just give the guilters a break for a wee bit, and I'm thinking, okay, because this isn't a personal thing against guilters. They, for some reason, I know for a fact that some of them were genuinely horrified when they found out that Teresa was missing, and then there's all this evidence turning up, and it's like for some of them, for some of the guilters, they still can't understand why the case even went to trial.
Can you repeat that?
Well, they can't. Some guilters cannot understand why Stephen Avery even wanted to go to trial to try and claim that he was innocent, because when you've got all this, all this evidence that turned up, it's like, you've got journalists such as Anjanette Levy, Emily Matasic, who phones. Steve phones her because obviously Emily's asked her to phone her, and I've nothing against Emily Matasic. She's fine, but she's really just following this sort of protocol of the journalists there, which is you've got, she says to Steve, you've got this blood in the car that's yours. The bones are found in your backyard. The car is found there. The key is found there. The bullet's found there. Are you still trying to say that you're innocent? It's like she's going there not as an investigative journalist, but more as like some sort of counselor to say, Steve, you need to give this up. You need to give this up. You are on a you're not going anywhere in this. Yeah. It's so obvious that you're guilty.
Yeah, I don't understand how hard it must have been in the first 18 years to not just go ahead and falsely admit that, okay, yeah, I did it just to get parole. I mean, I can't see Stephen Avery, judging by his track record, admitting to something that he didn't do. And that's the answer right there is, he wasn't going to admit to it if he didn't do it. And he said from the very beginning that he was getting framed.
Yeah. I think what it is if it's conclusive, if he did it and he knows he did it, there's no point trying to deny it. Because when you try and deny something that you did do, you're only going to end up incriminating yourself. But in something as serious as the rape and attempted murder of Penny Bernstein and the causing of the disappearance of Teresa Holbach, these are far more serious crimes than robbing a store. And much as guilters love to go on about this, the cat incident, which look, so some people, I get it. Some people would chuck him in jail and lock the door, throw away the key for what he did to the cat, if that's genuinely what he did to the cat.
Yeah,
I get that, and there is no amount of apologizing by Steve Avery will ever make up for the fact, but we're not trying to say that he's a saint.
Nope,
he's not a saint. But what he isn't, but as the other thing he isn't, is he's not a cold-blooded heartless killer. No, no.
And that's what I've always said. I've said, you know, people that come at me saying, well, he beat women or he messed with certain young girls in his family and he burned a cat and he did all this. And I said, if he was found guilty, if charges was brought against him and he was found guilty of all those charges in a fair process, I wouldn't be taken up for him in that. But in my opinion, he's not guilty of murder.
The problem is, of course, that you've got some people, as far as I can tell, you know, I've been following this a long time, as of a few other people, and we've probably, in fairness, we've probably invested too much time than we should do. We should really, you know, spend time on other things. Not that I haven't. I have looked at other things, but there's been times when the family said, "Oh, you just shut up about it." You know, you're just obsessed with it. You know, which is fine. You know, I'm as people that know me know that if I get into something, I get into it. You know, I want to get into the nuts and bolts of it. I want to really find out. Not that I'm a great researcher like some of the Redditors. I mean, I've been sent stuff by a Redditor just recently, and this is really interesting stuff, which I'm hoping that I can at some point very soon do some other videos about and share with you guys, because it's it's a case of disseminating. Millbillies here. The one thing that me and Millbilly totally agree with is the fact that we need to disseminate as much of this information out to everybody as we possibly can. That's what it's all about. So yeah, I've maybe spent too much time on the case, but it's worth it. It's going to be worth it. I know that much. It's really going to be worth it when eventually the state of Wisconsin, and in particular those that supported the conviction of Stephen Brendan, are going to have to hold their hand up and say, yeah, we got it wrong. And not just we got it wrong, but we shouldn't have done what we did. Oops, we seem to have lost Andrew, but he seemed to be smiling far too long there, so I don't know what's happened. Maybe maybe it was time for him to go anyway, but anyway. It is now 5 past midnight here in the UK, so I'm just going to say cheerio. I'm going to say cheerio on behalf of Andrew as well. It's fantastic to see all you guys here. I recently, just within the last couple of days, had some messages from some Redditors wanting me to highlight one or two things, particularly about the bones. So looking forward to that. Somewhat similar to what Dr. Siltman was going over. I think if my limited knowledge of anatomy is correct, it's similar to what some of the stuff that Dr. Siltman was going over, our wonderful Australian fellow there. But anyway, I'm going to catch you all again sometime very soon. Oh, here we go.
Hey.
I don't know what happened then.
I guess something happened with my internet connection, but it was showing full signal, so I don't know what the heck happened.
That's maybe just YouTube, I mean, Eric Ozzy's got this theory that YouTube has got it in for him.
Maybe so.
Well, I think what happened was I broke YouTube a couple of times, and they think it was maybe him when it was actually me that was guilty of it. But it's been, he's been wrongfully convicted in the eyes of YouTube for having broken it. So I think that's what it was. So I was just actually just winding up there, just saying cheerio. So Well, I'll give you the final word. So this bullet, if it did bounce off the concrete,
Okay.
and it bounced into the wall and picked up this wood, it fell down under the compressor. Have any of your bullets ever shown any signs of burrowing instincts? A bit like a mole. You know, once the bullet's landed, it gets covered in dirt or dust or concrete dust. Has it ever shown any signs of wanting to raise to the surface?
No.
Okay.
But typically,
none of them.
No. Typically,
Oh.
I haven't shot one at concrete, and I haven't shot one at a body, so I can't speak to that.
Yes.
Or up under a compressor, but typically, when you're shooting things, the ricochet, depend. Like if you're shooting horizontal at it, a lot of times the danger is the ricochet is coming back at you.
Right.
And then, but they're claiming that, first of all, I'm not even, like I've said many times in the other video, that I don't even believe that the 22 and let's just say the headshot. Let's say if that's the bullet that they're talking about. A 22 rifle, unless he put the gun right up to her head, and even then I wouldn't be convinced that the 22 would even come out the other side of her head. And I watched a video on YouTube just yesterday of a guy shooting a ballistic dummy, and basically what that is it has the same exact consistency to a human being. He was shooting it in the body with various guns, and he shot it in the head with a 9mm, and the bullet didn't even come out. So there's always different variables. So it's not impossible that the 22 went through or can go through a skull, but it is unlikely. It would, in percentage wise, it'd be unlikely. In other words, I'd say out of 100 test tries, it might happen 20, and that's just putting a rough number on it. But and like I said, if the bullet went through her head and it did ricochet and hit the wall, the velocity is going to be completely spent by the time the bullet goes in through the head, exits, and hits the concrete. The velocity is going to be spent, and there's no way it's going to hit wood hard enough to get wood embedded in it.
Yeah. Hey, absolutely. Even before the fact, as I say, that it lands on this surface, which then gets covered with concrete dust, but it manages to rise its way to the top
and be perfectly clean.
Yeah, it's
the shape of that bullet is wrong. If that bullet didn't hit concrete.
Are you trying to tell me, right, that this wonderful bullet that's got this elaborate story to tell, it was simply fired into a piece of wood?
That's exactly what I think.
Oh, you're such a killjoy.
Oh, I'm just.
Is that all that bullet did?
And I'm telling you, Mr. Paul, when I first, a while back, I don't know how long ago it was, a year or so ago, when I first watched season 2, they show you the bullet up on the screen under the microscope first. And before they even said what it was, and I'm sure most people could see this as well, not just me, you could tell right away what appeared to be embedded in the bullet. It looked like wood.
Yeah.
Because it even had some discoloration. Like, you knew it wasn't bone. It wasn't completely white. It had, different colors embedded in it. And it looked like it had been shot through wood. And you could also, what I thought was interesting was, and I know people say, well, the bullet was washed or whatever, but I don't think they wash it in wax, do they?
No, apparently what what some guilters try and claim is that there's some sort of substance that they put on,
stick it in to look at the tool marks.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, you can see the wax. It's so evident on there, and yet it was washed. And this DNA that was extracted from it was so small, it couldn't have been skin cells. Apparently, it wasn't blood because it clearly didn't. But of course, all that Sherry did was just look at it under a microscope, and then wash it and extract a DNA sample. Which, if you're going to use either Teresa's chapstick or anything else that they took from her, but most likely it appears to be the chapstick that they and once again you just use like a Q-tip,
cotton swab,
yeah, exactly, and just rubbed it on the
because
bullet.
Even if the guilters want to say, well, the wax is from when they stick this bullet on this little thing, it's like, and it sits there, and then they line up the marks to see if it came from that rifle. Right. Well, the stuff that they stick it onto don't have cotton fibers, so there's still no explanation for all those cotton fibers sticking off of it.
Yeah. Anyway, Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on again, and I must apologise on behalf of all Minnesota fans because that was absolutely terrible.
Oh,
I mean, do they not understand?
Thanks, man.
Do they not understand the story, the script that was supposed to happen?
I don't know, but that game really aggravated the crap out of me.
Well, I tell you, I was watching it. I was watching it live here in the UK, and it was. I must admit, it was an interesting game. And was there not a did you not score in the very last minute and then it was overturned?
Well, no, we scored and made it go to overtime, and then Minnesota went down there and scored, and I'm not.
That was a push.
But I'm not even going to blame it on that. Even though that was a legit push off, I'm not going to blame it on that. I'm more angry at the Saints always play down to their competition. We have a way better team than they do this year, and there was no reason for that, and it just frustrated me so bad. Matter of fact, I'm so happy you brought it back up, fresh in my mind.
Oh well, listen, don't worry about it. As I say, I've been a Packers fan for many years, since the days of Brett Favre. I mean, as a supporter or fan, whatever you like,
Right.
Look, some people have suggested that we should give the Packers a load of abuse and stuff, and I must admit, I did send an email to the Green Bay Packers saying, you do realize that literally, I think it's 9 days after the Super Bowl that the state are due to give their response. I was speaking obviously with Christie and Millbilly, and I think what they said, it struck me as being, that's probably what's going to happen. The state are going to ask for an extension.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got different attorneys on the case now. They're going to want to get into it. My only hope is that these attorneys are going to come back and say to the bosses, we've no chance here. We should just cut our losses now. We should just come clean, and we should just say, look, just let the guys out. Whether that'll happen,
I don't think it's going to happen, but
because they're employed by the state to defend the state and to do whatever they can. But if they had any common sense, they would look at this case and go, we are, what's the term? We are in a very dire situation here with the evidence that's against us. That's what they should do.
Yep, but I hope it happens, but I don't I don't see it happening. It'd be too much,
Too wishful
too much
thinking.
to turn around.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's frustrating, but you're right. We kind of do get wrapped up in it, the case and everything. But you can't help but to get obsessed with it when it's so obvious. It'll drive you nuts thinking about it sometimes.
Yeah, it drives me and you and other people into thinking about different things, and and maybe what I like about this is that any thoughts that I have, I'm quite happy to share with other people, not just on a video, but also through various chat forums, and I get responses back, and that's what it's all about. So once again, thanks for joining us. So final question. Okay, so you're going to go down the bookies tomorrow and put my £5 on who's going to win the Super Bowl.
So you want me to tell you who I think's going to win?
Go on then.
Well, you ain't going to want to hear it.
No.
But I don't even think the Packers. I think the Packers are going to lose to Seattle.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be the 49ers after they get done beating the crap out of the Vikings. And I hope they do. I think the 49ers and the Ravens are going to be in the Super Bowl, the Baltimore Ravens and the 49ers. And I think Baltimore is going to win it.
That's what the TV program here in the UK said.
Yeah, they're too physical. I mean, the 49ers could win it, but I think those are your two teams that's going to be in it. I think Baltimore is a little bit better than the 49ers.
Okay. So when's the first game that the Packers have got? Is it this Sunday?
This Sunday they're playing at Lambeau Field. They're playing against the Seattle Seahawks.
Oh, Seahawks. Yeah, Seahawks. Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a good game, but we'll see what happens.
If there's a lot of snow, it could be very interesting, couldn't it?
Yeah, that's why I wasn't too upset about the Saints losing to Minnesota, because even if we would have won, having to play Green Bay in Lambeau, it would have worked out good. Now, if we had got to play them in the Superdome, that'd be a different ball game. But up there in their house, the Saints don't do well with that kind of weather. So,
do you know what they've got is in Australia. When me and the dude went to Marvel Stadium to see an Aussie Rules football game, I was watching live this morning a cricket game being played at the Marvel Stadium, and it's one of these where they can put the roof on.
Uh-huh.
Do you know, in cricket, there's been numerous occasions when they've actually got the cricket ball to hit the roof.
Gee.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But Lambeau, they don't want no roof.
No, they don't want no roof on there.
They like the home field advantage, like Eskimos up there or something.
Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I'm glad you let the tie. And
yeah, I did. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay.
I want to get me a fitted suit one day. I've been wanting one for a couple of years. I'm a big Conor McGregor fan.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love his suits, and I'm gonna get me one day.
Excellent. You do that. Right. Okay, I've kept you long enough. If you could say cheerio.
Goodbye, everybody.
It's goodbye from him, and it's goodbye from him. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to Andrew's channel. Goodbye, everybody.